Good evening and welcome back to 31 Horror Nights. It's October 5th and tonight's movie is The Black Phone. We're not done with abductions just yet, because today's movie is actually, I think, worse in terms of a crime than what happened in The Vanishing. The person in this movie abducts children and seems to have been at it for a very long time. Ethan Hawke plays a character that abducts children and wears a scary mask for whatever reason. But this one victim, this young boy, he starts getting calls. There's like a rotary phone in the room for some reason. And the people who call him, even though I think the phone is not plugged into anything, they are his past victims, and he's talking to their ghosts pretty much. So with them helping him and his friend, and she seems to have like prophetic dreams about his whereabouts and like how to help him, it gives him something to fight back against this person. This was directed by Scott Derrickson, who also directed two other movies that I watched in the very first Horror Nights. The Exorcism of Emily Rose, which I thought was incredible, and Sinister, which I thought was incredibly frustrating. So really, all bets are off when it comes to how much I'm going to like this movie. I generally don't like Ethan Hawke. As an actor, I don't know him as a person, but as an actor, I don't like him. So I guess it's good that he's playing the villain this time, and I'm not supposed to like him. And the two child actors, the boy and the girl, they both seem to be pretty good, at least from what I saw in the trailer. I'm gonna go check this out. Finally, something great. I'm giving The Black Phone a 9 out of 10. It's not quite 10 out of 10 material. There were still a couple things about it I didn't love, but overall, like, 2 thumbs way up. This is one of those movies where you really, like, feel for the main character, and you want to see him get out of this and, like, grow. The two main characters of the movie are the two kids, Finn and Gwen, and they're actually brother and sister, but they're brothers and sisters that are friends, and I really liked the interactions that they had with each other. I mean, we didn't get a lot of it, but we got some of it, and I did like what I saw. And I don't know where these horror movies are finding these child actors, but these two kids are going places. They're named Mason Thames, or Thames, it's spelled like the river, and Madeline McGraw, and both of them were spectacular in this movie. Ethan Hawke was... he didn't actively make the movie worse. Yeah, the killer in this movie, the grabber they call him, I don't think we ever hear his name. His character is probably the weakest part of this story. I talked about yesterday in The Vanishing how Raymond didn't fit any of the, traits that you would attribute to a movie killer. The grabber fits all of them to an almost cartoony extent. He's just crazy in a really not that interesting way. To be fair, Ethan Hawke does fine playing him, but his character is not the high point of the movie. I think that the high point of the movie is the character of Finn. He seems very average. He likes rockets a lot, but he doesn't seem to be a huge nerd. He plays baseball, but he's not a jock. He's not really popular. He's not really unpopular. He's just a normal kid. To be fair, he had a lot of help along the way from the grabber's past victims over the phone, but he also did really well. He's smart. And they established that by him doing these little clever things. I love how they show him being intelligent instead of telling us. But he's also very much still a kid. Gwen's character is also great. She is a little girl, but she, stands up for herself. Gwen and Finn have an alcoholic, abusive father for, honestly, I don't think a very good reason. And she stands up to him, even as she's getting beaten with a belt. Also, going back to the prophetic dreams thing, she, tries to trigger them with prayer, and the scenes of her praying are just very funny, because the way that it's written, it's she doesn't quite know if she believes in what she's doing, but she wants to try anyway, and there's a very funny scene that I don't even want to spoil here. I will say, though, even before I watched this movie, but also throughout the movie, I thought it was weird that they had both the past victims calling Finn through the phone and Gwen having prophetic dreams. It's weird that they had both of those things. And I'm not going to say that it was pointless to have both of those things, but it could have had a lot more of a point than it ended up actually having. Also, the alcoholic abusive dad was a weird thing to add. They added a lot of things to this movie. And the movie, and the premise with the phone was really strong enough to support the movie pretty much on its own. There's also another thing they added that I feel will go too much into spoilers, but there was this other thing they put in that was so pointless and so useless. But still, the main premise with the phone, the performance of the two main characters, and the writing is enough to make this an amazing horror movie. Though it doesn't really feel as much like a horror movie, there weren't a lot of scares, it kind of seemed like a thriller or a drama even, but still, great movie. Now I want to talk about a couple spoilers. They never provide a reason as to how the previous victims can ring the phone and talk to Finn from beyond the grave. I mean, I'm fine with that. That's not something they needed to explain. But they did try to explain how Gwen has prophetic dreams. Apparently, their mother, who is dead before the movie starts, had those prophetic dreams, and eventually led to her committing suicide? And this leads to alcoholic abusive dad getting alcoholic and abusive whenever Gwen even tries to mention the fact that she has dreams that can read into reality. But when she approaches him and says, I think these dreams might be able to help us find Finn, he seems to go along with it, so I don't know why they put that in there. Again, it's not bad, it just seems like stuff that they added. I tell you what was bad. Apparently the grabber has a brother named Max who is living in the area and is super into true crime and trying to solve the case of the grabber. He goes on coke and makes that bulletin board with the strings. You've seen that picture. And somehow he never notices that the grabber is operating in the basement of the house that he is living in. At the very end of the movie, he does finally put together that their location matches all the things that would be needed for the grabber's house, and he goes down to the basement and he opens the door and he finds Finn, but then he immediately gets axe murdered by the grabber, so there was no point to this character. I was actually thinking that what they were going to go with is that he was in on it. He presented this, crazy but harmless cover so that nobody would investigate the house where the murders and kidnappings are actually happening in. But no, he kind of was being used as a cover, but his character was just pretty much useless till the end. I'm not gonna go over, what Finn does to escape. He uses all the things that were told to him by the past victims to do it. And him finally killing the grabber is a very satisfying moment. But it was kind of interesting the way that they ended the prophetic dream thing. She did lead them to a house, but the house wasn't the house of the grabber. However, it was the empty house across the street from the grabber's house that the grabber used to bury the remains of the boys when he's done killing them. Which, I guess is nice. They can have a proper burial, but it wasn't as important in the context of this movie as Finn getting out. The prophetic dreams thing doesn't feel as, maybe unnecessary isn't the right word, but a little questionable as the alcoholic abusive dad, or especially Max's character, but I feel I don't know, it just wasn't used in a way that fully justified it being put in. But despite all of the superfluous things that they added for no apparent reason, this was based off of a short story. Maybe it wasn't that short, there was a lot of things, but maybe it's stuff that was in the original story, maybe it's stuff they added. Either way, I don't know if the movie needed it. I definitely know the movie didn't need Max. But despite all that, there is still so much to love in The Black Phone. It's not spectacular in terms of horror, but it's a great story with great characters. Definitely the best movie of this month so far. I would say that this is my favorite Scott Derrickson movie, even more than The Exorcism of Emily Rose. Alright, thank you for listening. I'll see you tomorrow.